Hello everyone and welcome back to today's video. It's been way too long. I'm grateful to be here, back again with another video. We're going to be in Pro Tools today, as per usual. I hope that your lives have been well, and I'm really excited about today's video. So thanks for joining me. Before we get into everything, I'd like to just say thank you for sticking around. It means a lot to have our small community here, and I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm super excited for what the future holds. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the video if that's your thing. But otherwise, please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video, where we walk through how to record vocal overdubs like a pro. So there's a couple of things I want to go over before I really get into the nitty-gritty. So let's pull up a text edit and chat. I'm going to call these my core principles of vocal recording. Number 1, don't keep the talent waiting. Now what do I mean by this? I mean any setup, line checks, getting recording levels should be done beforehand, and preferably with an assistant engineer if you need the hands, before you even start the session, before that artist even comes to the session. When they get there to their session, you should be ready to hit record when they get in front of the mic, and not be fumbling around with levels or Pro Tools or getting things set up or anything like that. And the reason why is directly connected to my second point. Have empathy for the performance and the performer. What I mean by this is, recording vocals is one of the most vulnerable things you can do as an artist and as a musician. If you've never been in front of a microphone yourself to practice recording vocals, I highly encourage you to do that. And the reason why is because being in front of a microphone with a bunch of engineers and other people around in the room, it can be very daunting, and it can be very hard to get into the right headspace, the right emotion, the right feelings, all the stuff that you need in order to get a compelling vocal performance. So the best thing that you can do as an engineer is to just practice recording with a friend. Understand that vulnerability. Put yourself in their shoes. Try to wrap your head around why vocal recording is so difficult. Once you've had a chance to record vocals yourself, that will help inform how you guide the session, what you should do, how attentive you should be, how you can be compassionate, and that'll make you a better engineer than 99% of people. Number 3, keep it simple. Whether it be the gear, your setup, your DAW template, your labeling, whatever it is, keep it as simple as you can. The last thing you want to be doing when you're in the middle of a session is fumbling around trying to troubleshoot something that is way too complicated for your own good. Pare it back understand and make it sing. The best engineers are the ones where you don't even know that they're there. Our job is to take the chaos of the recording session and make it seamless. So keep it simple. Number 4, save everything and back up frequently. In this day and age, hard drive space is incredibly cheap. So why would you even hit Command-C or delete a take? Just make a new playlist, make a new take lane, duplicate the track even, save everything. Because when it comes time to do a vocal comp or to get into the editing or even the mixing, the last thing you want is not having enough material recorded in order to produce the best possible result. In addition to that, back up frequently. When you're in a session, you should have at least 2 hard drives. The first one you can call or think of as the work drive. That's where you're actually recording. The second being the work drive backup. And even better, a third being the work drive safety. And what you should do during your session is whenever there's a 5-minute coffee break or a moment where you can, back up your session to those backup and safety drives. There is no worse feeling than being in a recording session and losing a whole day's worth of work. Pay the extra $100 or $2, get some extra drives, and back up your work. You will thank yourself later, and so will your talent. Number 5, PREAMP, compressor, interface selection. This one is entirely up to you. Not everyone may have the same budget for audio recording equipment, so do with this what you may. But the most important thing is that your recording session is not the time to experiment with this, unless your artist has explicitly requested it, or if you've talked about it with the artist beforehand. And the reason why is they pay you in order to not have to worry about this. Again, going back to the empathy for the performer and the performance, they should be solely focused on getting that performance down on the page, so to speak. So again, choose all these things beforehand. There's no right way to make these selections. It's totally up to you. In fact, you might consider having a session before the actual session in order to select this stuff, if it's even an option, with your talent before the day of the recording. However, when it comes time to this recording session, you best be ready to just hit record and go, because that's your job, that's what you're paid to do, and that's the expectation. Number 6, create a tracking template. What I mean by this is whether you're in a home studio or going to a professional recording studio, you need to have a tracking template set up with all of your headphone sends, your headphone mix, as much pre-mixing as you can do, have effects returns in the template ready to go, have all your tracks made, and practice, ideally beforehand, with the template so that when it comes time to record, you know exactly where everything is, and you look like a pro. Alright, so those are my core principles for having a smooth session. I'll put these in the video description so that you have them for reference. But I think now we can turn to the exciting point, which is actually going through the session. So let's begin. So right now I'm inside of my Pro Tools template, and ideally what I would have done beforehand is set up all my tracks, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So we'll say lead vocal. Let's say that I have it hot pink, right? So there are very generally two approaches to vocal recording. The first of which I like to call the old school method. So let me just write this down here. Vocal recording. It looks a little better. So the old school method is sort of born out of the older way of doing things. So what you would do is you would record a take. So let's just pretend that I'm recording a take right now. And you'd let the artist sing the entire song, or maybe just verse 1, chorus 1, something like that. And then once they finish, you'd then create a new playlist or a new take. Then you'd have them take another stab at it. And so maybe they take a third stab at it, so you make a new playlist. And then you record them again. So once they finish that take, you'll end the recording, right? And then what you would do is you'd create a new playlist, a blank one, maybe call it comp. And then what you do from there is you take the individual pieces of the different takes and build basically a composite of all of the different takes that sounds good until you're happy with the vocal performance on that comp playlist. Of course, you'd edit it, do all the things you want to do, right? And then once you're done, that would be your finished vocal recording. This is a totally valid way to record, and it's still used today. I still record like this for certain sessions today, and it's great. However, there is a newer method. And that method doesn't really have a name, but I do kind of like to call it affectionately the punch and drag method. So it's a little different. So let's talk about it now. So I'm gonna move this track down here, and we'll start over again with the setup. So it's gonna look a little different. I'm gonna have two lead vocal channels. Make those hot also gonna have a track called the cut track. Maybe I'll make that bright yellow. So in this method, it's a little different and takes some getting used to. But don't worry, we'll work through it together. This method is better for sessions where perhaps the music isn't already written, like in pop or hip-hop, rap, during a writing session for production music or otherwise. It works really well when the talent might not know the lyrics in full yet, which is how a lot of modern music is made. You know, the notepad is the recording session. So in that case, my job as engineer is to match that energy, right? Going back to the empathy for the performance, I need to adapt my recording method to fit what's being done. So I'm going to start by just very slowly demoing this, and then we'll ramp up to the full speed of what tracking via the punch and drag method looks like. So what you'll do is you'll have your cut track down here, and I like to make the playlist, the first playlist 01, so that the numbering is correct. You know, if we go back to reference, I know it's on .01, right? So I'm gonna sing my ABCs. This is pretty silly, but hopefully it's relaxing. Bear with me, I know it's kind of childish, but the point is the method. So I'm gonna sing my ABCs and track it and record it as we go along. So let's say I start here. This is where the verse begins. So when I'm the engineer, I'm gonna hit record on the cut track. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So then let's say that that's one section that I just came up with as a writer on the spot. Now I'd like to sing the next line. So what I'm gonna do as engineer is I'm gonna immediately start the recording again. But I'm gonna drag this up as the recording is rolling to this track, these two tracks I made up here, right? Remember those? So that they can hear, the performer can hear what they just recorded while they're ready to record the next line. So again, doing this very slowly so you can get it. I'm gonna hit record, trim the clip, drag the clip up. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. So now check that out. And then I'll drag this up as well. So now what you end up with, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, is we've checkerboarded the vocal take so that we can keep the music moving. So if that's a little confusing, don't worry. I'm going to move a little bit faster this time and work through it. So hopefully it'll become a little more clear. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, So from the top, we've got a full take already pretty much comped and ready to go, recorded line by line. So here's what that sounds like. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? So there we have it. A fully done song, checkerboarded, like so, and recorded and ready to go. So you might notice the advantage to this method is, we record one line, and then we restart a new recording for that same location, right? And then you hear that previous line before you record the next one. And then you keep on doing that, rinse, repeat, until you've got the full performance down. So maybe I'll do this without me speaking so you can see the flow. And so on and so forth, and around we go. So that is the punch and drag method. Now let's say that during the course of the recording, your talent, they record a line and they're not too happy with it. Totally fine. Just end the recording, begin it from the same spot, create a new playlist. So they can record this new take, but also you've saved that mistake. Even though it's a mistake, quote unquote. Back to our core principles. Keep everything, save everything, because you never know. Maybe you need this intro portion here, maybe this was just the bad part, maybe you just need that. The point being, you should never delete anything, because why not just save it? Or digital. Take advantage of it. So that is the basic principle. Now, there are some important things to consider and some cool things about this method. So, because of the way that Pro Tools works, this method also helps with getting a good rough mix going. So, on these two channels, you might have your compressors, and then maybe you also have an EQ plugin. So maybe this processing, you want this processing on the channels that you've already cut and dragged up so that you can get a good rough mix going. You can even have sends up here and be building this mix as you go. But that enables you to have a completely different set of processing, or maybe no processing at all down here on the cut track. So you can sort of split the effort and have your vocal mix be in progress up here while you have the cut track down here doing its own thing, which is great. The other thing I wanted to mention regarding both the punch and drag method, but also the old school method, is our 7th core principle: editing and mixing as you work or as you go. And the reason why is twofold. Really, number one, the session, what makes sense here. But at the same time, when you finish your vocal session, you want to be able to hand a rough mix to your artist, to the producer, to anyone else in the room, so that when they leave the session, they can hear what they just worked on. There's nothing more unprofessional than an engineer getting all the work done and saying, oh, okay, I won't have anything for you to hear until I work on this a little bit later. That is not the way that the industry works these days. It's not how it has worked really ever. And if you want to be a pro, you want to be working on this vocal edit and rough mix as you're tracking. And so you might ask, when do I have time to do that? Because I'm worried about recording. It's no problem whatsoever. All you have to do is, let's say you take a 5-minute coffee break, or everyone steps out, or there's a moment where they're discussing arrangement stuff. Well, that is your cue to come in here and be doing this editing. Whenever there is downtime, whenever the recording is not rolling, you should be working on this edit and on this mix. That will save you so much headache. Everyone will love you for being incredibly fast, and you'll be happier at the end of the day, and I promise you'll get repeat work because you're that good. So edit and mix as you go. It doesn't cost that much time. So let me just add rough mix at end of session for everyone. Fantastic. So that is a very brief overview of the two methods of recording. It's definitely not an exhaustive or comprehensive description of the two methods. However, it's enough to get you started in your production journey. Now you might ask, are there any other methods? Well, absolutely. These are just the two methods that work really well for me as a freelance engineer in the LA area. This is what I've seen people do. The best engineers I know rely heavily on the punch and drag method. And I think the old school method is kind of going to the wayside. However, it's really handy to know both. And if you know any other methods, those are equally valid. A big misconception with recording and engineering at large is that there is a right way to do things. There's no right way to do things. It's whatever works for you. In fact, I'm going to write that down. The only important part is to be fast. Never keep talent waiting. Be the person who's always prepared. Listen to everyone in the room as they're talking about the arrangement so you can anticipate whatever comes next in the session. So in conclusion, there are many ways to have a successful vocal recording session. But if you want to be a pro, you want to be prepared. You don't want to keep people waiting. Save everything and back up frequently. Save the gear selection for later. Have a tracking template and edit and mix as you go. I just realized that I said that's a little more grammatically correct. Edit and mix as you go. Again, the less work you can do later, the better. You're going to remember this session on the spot, and then you want to be able to bounce this out with confidence at the end of that session for everyone to hear. All of that said, don't be afraid to experiment where you can. Again, there is a time and a place for experimentation. Don't be afraid to experiment or try new things. But just make sure that it's the right time, it's the right setting. It's not during, the $150 to $200 an hour studio session. Do it at home. Set up your home studio. Practice with a friend. Practice with a colleague. Get really good at this stuff so that when it comes time to the session, you are prepared for every potential issue and know how to fix it. Never keep anyone waiting. The only person who should be waiting is you waiting on your clients. Thank you all so much for joining me for today's video. Please like and subscribe. I'll be hanging around a little more regularly now. So thanks for sticking with me. It means a lot that you're here, and I'm really excited about what will come next. So until next time, take care.